Welcome to the Get Energized podcast, the show where leaders are dropped into the hot seat, open up about high stakes wins, and reveal the trust behind triumph. I'm your host, Scott Carley, the Trust Energizer, and I believe the confidence people have in your character and expertise is the real game changer. When trust is strong, teams don't just perform, they pull off the impossible. Today's guest is Nick Boyd of Confido Commercial Realty in Austin, Texas. Great friend of mine, great guy. He has firsthand what it takes to build a high trust culture that delivers big. Nick, welcome to the show.
Scott, thank you so much for having me. Excited to do this and thankful for the time.
Oh yeah, we're going to have a great time.
Do it.
So tell the audience what you do and who you serve.
Thank you, Scott. So, my company, Confido Commercial Realty, our focus is to help business owners who occupy office space or industrial space find locations to lease or purchase within Greater Austin. That's my passion. That's what I love to do. So, whether it's an accounting office or an attorney office looking for space or a manufacturer, I know the market and the people to best connect the businesses with the real estate. That's been my passion for the last 15 years.
Yeah, and people are working from offices, aren't they?
They are. Turns out that what do they say? The flip-flop culture doesn't maintain. You need people in office talking to each other, solving problems. It works for some companies, but a lot of them need to be together.
Yeah, I think that's true. Okay, so we're gonna. This is a hot seat,
I'm
and
ready.
so
My
we got some cool questions. And so the first question: what's the wildest high stake challenge your team ever faced, where failure would have been a total disaster?
You know, One that comes to mind is I was referred a great opportunity by a dear customer of mine that I had helped move their company down from Chicago in 2021. And this company is Swedish, and they connected me with this Danish firm that's moving some manufacturing to Central Texas. And so, even the premise of it, it took a lot of trust for this customer of mine to connect me with this other firm. And I was so grateful for that opportunity, something I'd built over years, a relationship with them, with friends, and they saw how I served them. So I was able to meet with this company, introduce them to the marketplace, and show them what was available in Austin. And for a manufacturing facility, it's not like going into a neighborhood and there's three or four homes. This is a dynamic and challenging search in a lot of ways because you have power requirements. You've got municipalities you're talking to, zoning challenges. And so I'm thankful for the years of experience I had, was able to show them that, build that trust over the phone, create a relationship, create a contractual relationship. They flew in and we spent days with each other, working together, trying to solve this problem because they wanted to be here in this country. Now, I think the interesting piece to this story is it highlights the importance of trust, but also the release from expectations. I was not tied to what the outcome was. And I think that's an important piece of that because people can feel that on you, I think, when they see that you're just doing something as a transaction. And I have worked very hard and thoughtfully in my business to be open to what's on the other side, have faith to see what's on the other side. And so I worked it as hard as any project I've ever worked. But what happened was the company, in the summer of last year, changed presidents, and that president had a different vision of what they wanted to do with the company. So
Oh no.
months of work, but it's okay. I was able to build relationships with the CEO locally in the States, and from that, other things have come up that are just as good. My market knowledge increased, and now I'm in a position where they'll probably come back around and because they do want a presence, and our relationship is even better. But they could see the trust that my trust only grew with them when they saw how I was able to take it and say, I understand. out of your control. Let's keep moving forward. So
And
I think,
you're saying that they sent you referrals, even though they didn't use you, they
yes.
sent you referrals because they had a lot of trust in what you did for them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's because we worked together and got close to executing something. But yes, because they could see that and we've become friends and I've been able to send people to them and vice versa. So I think, when you ask that question, that's what comes to mind, and that trust in the business world is a multifaceted function.
Oh
And
yeah.
it just the more work you do to do the right thing, do the next right thing, and serve others over self, the results are better than you could imagine. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're spot on about that. I love that story. That I'm disappointed you didn't get the deal. And maybe the new CEO will, come to the light and make the decision here. But one of the things that I've recognized in the book that I wrote, Can I
Mhm.
Trust You?
Yeah,
Every client, whether they're international or they're local or they're statewide, wherever they are, every client who walks through your door or picks up the phone, calls you, goes to your website, they're asking in their mind, can I trust you? And they've got half a dozen questions, consciously or unconsciously. And so I want to ask you some of the questions that I think that they would ask a commercial realtor like you. And the first one is, Nick, do you know the local market inside and out? I mean, are you aware of the neighborhood dynamics, the zoning, the trends, or are you just winging it?
that's a great question. And, honestly, that's why I specialize in my industry of just working with business owners for office and industrial within Austin, because I work every day to have the knowledge about what's going on in each aspect of that market, the trends. I talk to listing agents to understand what's happening with rental rates and why, what kind of concessions are available. I talk to municipalities to understand what kind of concessions can be given, what zoning changes may be happening. So I stay dialed into that so then when a customer calls, I can save them time. Because ultimately that's if I can save them time and serve them, I mean it's the best, and it increases that trust dynamic. Because then they know they can count on me to just do my one thing. So I think it's a really important question. I take it really seriously.
Good, good. I would be asking that question. All right, well, let's do number two. Number two, this is a question everybody's asking. Will you prioritize my needs or are you just chasing a commission? I mean, are you pushing properties that will help me win or are you padding your own pocket?
As a salesperson, I think that's a big trap that people can fall in. We're trying to make a living, but what I've found is that when you prioritize service over self, what comes on the other side of that is better than you could imagine. I know I've said that before, but it's so important to me. And I'll give you an example. I helped a customer here in Central Texas, and we were about a year and a half away from their lease coming up. And we started looking at everything. And frankly, I said, well, if you're looking for real net savings and you receive things from the Port of Houston, maybe you need to be in Houston. Now, it could have been a substantial fee for me to keep them. But I told them, I said, we should investigate opportunities in these other markets to see if you'll save money. And I did it because it was the right thing to do, and frankly, it could have been the right thing for them. So now we did that, and it ended up that they should stay. But I've found that if you just do that on every transaction, things happen better than you would have planned for. And so I think it's a core piece of the way I try to operate.
Yeah, that just speaks to your integrity and to your motives and what you're doing and people feel that they can sniff that they
Yes.
can tell in a minute what's really going on here. Now that was a good answer. I love that. All right, I got another question.
Yes.
Can you negotiate effectively on my behalf? I mean, will you fight for the best terms, the price, the concessions, or do you cave under pressure? What kind of negotiator are you on my behalf?
So, I mean, that's a key part of this business.
That's why I hire you, is to
Exactly.
do
Is
that.
to do that and to get the best. And it's interesting, something I've learned from my mentors is it also starts. So the short answer is, of course, and I'm going to be negotiating for the best bet of my client. But I think one piece that some salespeople fall short of is one can think what a good deal looks for them, but they don't ask the question to their customer, what does success look like for you? And one of my mentors taught me that, and it changed the whole way that I negotiate because you focus on what's the one thing to your client. It might actually not be price, it might be timing. It could be other terms that you are so laser focused on one area and miss the forest through the trees. So I first look at what the customer really needs, and then in negotiations, you follow the strategies of asking the right questions, probing for information, and trying to your best ability make every deal win-win. Because my experience has been you can negotiate hard, but if there's a little bit left over on both sides, there's always something on the other end of a transaction that people need help with. So you can't beat both sides to death. So I really am mindful of that. I try to take a holistic approach and um, really try to just hammer that home. Now, in this kind of a market, it is a very interesting time in Central Texas because the market dynamics are difficult because there's high vacancy and there's a lot of uncertainty. So when that's out there and there's not a clear floor or ceiling to deals, I have to really focus on what my customer needs and just do the best you can with that and probe the landlord or seller to understand how you can get there. So that is it's a fundamental piece of my business, and I like anything else, I take it very seriously.
Yeah, I like that. I love that answer. And again, I mean, the reason I hire somebody like you would be to negotiate for me because if I was the expert in it, I wouldn't hire you, but I'm not the expert in it. I wouldn't know. I have found that people like you who are an expert know what things to negotiate that are not obvious to me. Now, you
Absolutely.
may be able to, that there's some things that are really crucial and critical to
Yes.
a build out or where you're moving in or parking or access or that there's a highway coming in or whatever it is. And you know about that stuff. You know stuff you can negotiate on that I never thought of.
And I'm glad you said that because actually that brings up an interesting point, something I experienced recently. I've been working with a new roofing business. These guys are great. They're motivated. They're making money, but they're new. And we found an office for them and negotiating it, and they didn't know to ask about the HVAC. It's a fundamental thing. If you talk to any business owner, it's a hot button issue if it's not addressed when the lease is being negotiated. And I'm sure you've had friends or even yourself, you sign a lease and there's a problem if it's not dealt with on the front end. So what I did is, I didn't even need to talk to him about it. I knew this was going to be an important item. So I brought it up with the landlord. We solved the problem and I brought it back to him and said, by the way, this was something that was important that you need to be made aware of. And to your point, there are times where because of the being an expert in the space, you know what to ask for without hurting the deal, but bringing something up that will be important to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I've been surprised at what people have negotiated for me that I just had no idea. But again, that's why we hire experts. And your trust credit score went way up because you did something that was valuable and important, integrity and your skill, your expertise, knowing what to do, and your trust score went up. So they're going to hang tight with you.
Yeah, and that's the hope. And the beauty is I didn't do it to increase the relationship. I did it because it was the right thing.
It's who
And
you are.
and
It's just
that
who you are.
and that's how I think the beauty of all this is that if you just integrate it in your life, well, then you don't even know what's on the other side. It could be new relationships, better. because, in some ways we're not in control. We feel like we want to be in control, but at least I have that problem. Uh, and so, no, I hope that too. I aspire to have those kind of relationships.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, let's go to the next question. And this is a good one. I like this one. Do you have access to off-market deals or hidden gems? I mean, can you bring opportunities I can't find on my own?
So, being a specialist, and this is something that I found only gets better with time, is because I'm so dialed into these areas in Austin of office and industrial. I know the listing agents and they tell me things that are coming on the market before they hit the market. I had a customer who was a lab business. It was a national medical user. They're not a doctor's office, but like a lab. And we were looking for spaces. And a listing agent who I knew, I was friends with, called me and said, "Hey, we've got something that's about to come to the market. Nobody's seen it. The tenant's in default, and you guys could take it. Has all the equipment ready to go."
Wow.
It probably saved my customer $2 to $4 million in
Wow.
occupancy. I mean, it was a monumental thing, and it allowed them to get speed to market to serve their customers, and it was a win-win deal. And I was thankful to have been a part of it, but it's because I knew the players and I was
Yeah.
able to stay dialed in. So no, I do, and it's very important.
Somebody has just not paying attention to not know that there are deals and things going on because everything is fluid. It's moving.
Always.
People are moving in, moving out. Companies are doing well, they're not doing well. And so just to be aware, to pay attention and that, ooh, I see this and I see that, and it's not really on the market yet, but we can connect the two. That raises the level of trust that I have. That's even when I can come and say, hey, if something comes available, let me know. And then, you have that short list. Um,
Exactly. And I think it goes for so many businesses. And that's why when somebody calls me about wanting to sell their residential home or buy a home, call a specialist in that neighborhood.
yeah.
Every t- don't use your brother-in-law. Your brother-in-law might be great. Love your brother-in-law. Frank is awesome. Susie's the best. But if you know Joe, who does this specialist, I mean, they can figure that out. So anyway, I am a firm believer in specialization.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I've been a business coach for 25 years, and
Yes.
I ask people sometimes, "Do you have a business coach?" Oh yeah, I meet a guy at a bar, and we drink some bourbon, and he's got some great advice. Really?
Yeah.
Does he own a company? No, no, he's a
Oh,
janitor, but he's got great advice. Yeah, no,
he's
experts.
very
I mean,
confident.
that's the truth. Whatever. Okay, so I got another question, and remember, these are the questions that your clients consciously or unconsciously are asking.
Yep.
And if you're able to answer them before they even ask them, just in
Mm,
your conversation, then you're picking up on the five signals of trust and
mm,
you're building a confidence and a trust credit score with them that is genuine and authentic and
mm,
organic. And so the
mm,
fifth question is, are you are you being honest about property risk and challenges? I mean, will
mm,
you point out red flags or are you
mm.
going to let me walk into a money pit?
So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'm honestly in the middle of that right now with a customer, with a client who's a friend, and he's looking for a place for his business, um, and very interesting property, big property. But there are some red flags that I've identified early on because I know that market. This has to do with something called Atlas 14. The floodplains are being redrawn across the
Oh,
country, and this is going to change how some properties are being able to be used. So it's a big deal. And it came up right before we were about to go under contract. And I called him and I said, "Listen, before we move forward on this, this has come to our attention. We need to address this, and because this could make it so this property doesn't even work." Now, if he doesn't do that and he buys land, it's a much smaller project for me, but it's the right thing to do because if he goes under contract, he's going to be hard on $10,000 immediately and spend another $20,000 a month. It's a big ticket item for him on the scope. But I'm more concerned with it being the right thing for him rather than getting it under contract, doing the deal. So no, the earlier, I mean, like you'd probably know, bad news doesn't age well, and the sooner you can get in front of something, the better it is, even if it's painful. And and listen, it's hard, but it's the right thing to do, and that's how I try to operate my business.
Good. I love that. I love the fact that people recognize there are risks and they don't just keep their mouth zipped about it, but they say, "Hey, it's my job to tell you about this. It's coming up, and I'd rather you know on this side of it than on the other side." Because again, those things build trust. That relates to your integrity and your values. Nobody's just got cash laying around that they want to spend that, boy,
No.
I had no idea, blindsided, I think is what people call that. And nobody
Yes,
likes that. So having the integrity and the values that you're talking about makes a big deal.
I agree.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here.
Okay.
And the next questions kind of involve a little bit more about your team.
Okay.
So how strong is your network of inspectors, lenders, attorneys, contractors, and some of the team that you need to pull off some of these high stake projects? Tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I mean, you're only as strong as the people that you surround yourself with. And you want A players. And something I've learned from another mentor is, being a family is great, but really you want to operate like a team, like a football team, where you have A players who are focused and driven to do the best job in every avenue. And so what I've tried to do within, Central Texas or Greater Austin is have attorneys who can handle various parts of a real estate transaction. There are some that handle entitlements. There are some that handle lease negotiations, contracts. So understanding which attorney is best, not only personality wise, but also what area of the transaction, architects, engineers, builders, um, all of these design folks, furniture folks, space planning. I mean, when, it, or, in a recent project, crane operators, people who can install correct cranes. These are the things that I found my customers when they come and they're looking, they don't have a network here. So my job is obviously to find them space, but what I try to offer is a network to serve them and to lift them up to help them succeed faster. And so,
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is that you recognize that just finding the right piece of property and being able to get in it and having air conditioning, that doesn't that's only one part of the puzzle.
yes,
And so they've got to have other pieces. And for you to be able to say, "Hey, I know a gal, I know a guy, I know
yes,
somebody, I know a company," and these are the things that are tied to buying or leasing space that
yes,
good chance you're going to need. And
yes.
what I'm hearing is you've got that little black book that you can open up. Hey, I know a guy.
I, yeah, my father-in-law, he's like trying to get me to wear a hat. He wants to get that says I know a guy because that's constantly, oh, I know a guy. No, but it's important and it's a blessing. It's amazing to be able to spread that, but to have A players that can do it because that's the key thing. People you trust.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. So, I've heard a lot of really, really good things today about, what it is that you bring to the table as a commercial realtor and your knowledge of the area, your knowledge of the industry, and your forethought. All of those, are answering some of the signals of the
Yep.
trust credit score. And people are scoring you. And when the score is high, and you show up well, look at you, you look good, you're confident, you got a great appearance, and your smile, and you're happy. People like that, they don't want to work with somebody that I can't stand their personality. All of that is really important. And then your motives. Your motives are good, your intentions and what you're trying to do. It's not just get a commission, but you're trying to really help them get where they want to go. Your core values, you've already
Yep.
set it up that your core values and what you stand for and the things that are really important to you, keeping your word, all of that plays into it. And then your skill set. You've got certifications and
Yes.
expertise. You have to renew some of those things. You have to renew some things. What are the things you have to renew on a regular basis to keep your license?
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah. I mean, well, so for your license, you have to take continuing education, which is good. And so we do that every 2 years, and then every 4 years you have some additional education you do. But one certification that I'm really proud of and thankful to be a part of is something I just got last week called the SIOR certification. And
Oh, I know exactly what that. I have no idea. What is that?
it's called the Society of Industrial and Office Realtors. And the cool thing is, it was started in 1950 or in 1950s. Um, and the president at the time needed to get a grasp on what the industrial warehouses looked like across the country. So they got a broker from every state, the top brokers that they could trust, put together a database of all the warehouse space because they were worried about productions for war and everything like that. So this society was started in the 1950s, and it has become the association that whenever there needs to be mediation or any sort of disputes, they come to the SIOR, a database, and ask a broker in that database to solve problems because of their ethics and integrity and value and market knowledge. And I'm very thankful that I was accepted in to be a part of this group. And that is something that requires annual things and dues and ethics classes, and that's a yearly thing. And
Wow.
I'm very grateful to be a part of that group because that's how I operate my business, and I want to continue for the next 50 years or more. Who knows with Elon Musk, maybe I'll be who know I don't know, maybe.
Who knows? Yeah, that's right. That's
But
right.
but no, that's a core piece, and those kind of certifications are really important in my opinion because they serve my customers and it's how I want to operate.
Yeah, I love that. And to me, that is a really important aspect. Having certifications and skill set. Your skill
Yes.
set is proven. Um, one of the reasons that I use the CPA that I use is
Yes.
because she is an IRS, a certified IRS negotiator.
There you
And
go.
so, man, before the question even comes up, she can say, Scott, this won't fly. This is what we've got to do. This is what you've got to do, so that we never even go there.
I can't write that off. What? What?
And so what does that do? That just gives me peace of mind in such a big way, and to know that you have that. So my trust with her is huge because I believe that she is watching out for my best interest, and that's great. And then the last thing is track record. The track record that you have demonstrated. I've loved this. I'm hearing story after story after story after story after story of satisfying clients
Yep.
nationally, internationally,
Yep.
and I think that's incredible. So I'm energized. I hope
I'm
our audience today, if you've been listening to Nick, and if you're looking for commercial space in the Austin area, this is your guy. And whether it's manufacturing or office building or whatever it is, small or large, Nick is the man. He's just very connected. And I hope you've heard some things today that will raise your trust credit score with him.
Mm.
Nick, do you have any last things you want to say before we wrap it up?
One of the things that a mentor of mine taught me in the last couple of years that I'm very thankful for is he said to never let the real estate lead the business, but let the business lead the real estate. And what I've found in an economy like this, where there are seemingly deals everywhere, that you're not chasing deals, you're focusing on what's best for your business. And I think it's an important thing for business owners to keep in mind as they look at what their true real estate needs are. Because while it can look like a good deal on paper, cash is king and the best return you make is what you invest in your business. So yeah, I want to put that out there because I think it's really important.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, somebody needs to get in touch with you. How do they get in touch with you?
Thank you for asking. So you can reach me at my cell, 512-838-1087, or email me at nick@confidocommercial.com. And I'd love to help and serve or just find out a way I can help.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to thank you so much for being my guest today. And this is so incredible. As a matter of fact, you're the first guest for the Get Energized podcast. Man, that's a pretty big deal.
I love it.
We're just very, very thankful for it.